Good afternoon, Jan.
Michael, good afternoon. How are you doing?
I am fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah, making some really good progress on the code
The
launch
code launch
application.
application.
Yeah. So
Okay. You're
yeah,
gonna give a demonstration today?
yeah, I think so. And also I did want to touch on the change management stuff that I was talking with one of the members of our community about. Uh, Look at some patterns for how we can request and approve
Mm,
changes. Um, I think
okay.
I think it's a
First-
really interesting workflow, and it kind of fits.
mm.
Shouldn't be
No,
surprised, but
that's a pattern
hmm
I'm looking forward to because that's something we're gonna need for DWS. On my side, I made very little progress. Still fighting with specifications.
hmm.
Can I shortly show that first and
Yes,
ask your advice there because um
yes. Let's start there. So I should
right,
actually
this is
get
the
Zoom started. I
yeah.
need to get in the habit of starting Zoom before we start the recording. All
And you
right.
should see my virtual machine.
Yes, indeed. And now
So
everybody else does too.
let let's see. Um, so the first one we had last time was this one where we have an inner join because every result has to fulfill all these conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then we changed that. So we see all clients, even the ones without the yard.
Mm-hmm.
For example, client D, we had 4 clients, but only see 1 yard per client. And we don't see yards that have no client. So that is,
Right.
so it's the same specification, and it's this query.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have from clients, yeah, with the projection here. Um,
Right.
Then here we see all clients, even the ones without yards, and we see all their yards, but we do not see the yards that have no clients, the yard X. So this one, we take clients here.
Mm-hmm.
So per client, we have a client name and we see all the yards. And so if we run that, we have our 4 clients, A, B, C, D.
Mm-hmm.
Client D has
Has no
no
yards.
yards. And so, for example, client C has a single yard and client B had 2 yards, I think. 3 yards, B1, B2, and B3.
Yes, and I
Um,
think one of those was shared. Is that right?
yeah, yeah. The yard, wait, which one was that? The
Yeah.
yard B3C1.
Yes.
So that was common in client B and client C here.
Yeah.
But so here I have all my clients. I have all the yards per client, but I don't have the yards which have no client.
Mm-hmm.
So I assume that we will have to make a union there.
Yes. Yeah.
We will
And
have to make a specification, another specification. Um, so yards in
mm-hmm.
supplier auto join.
Right. Yes. It will be a second specification, and then you'll union the results afterwards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but um, I'm even not there yet. I'm still struggling to get these client names and the yard names on the same level. Because what I would
Mm.
like to see is, for example, client B, yard B1,
Mm-hmm.
next line, client B, yard B2, because
I
now you
see.
have client B with a sub-collection.
Right, right.
So
Okay.
then I thought, okay, let's move yard back, but there we are back in
Yeah.
what I did wrong last time, what you said that I couldn't do. Uh, and indeed, so we see the four within,
Yeah, we don't get
yeah,
yard or clients
yeah, you see
D.
A, B, B, B,
Yeah.
and C, but no D.
Yep.
So then play a little bit further.
Mm-hmm.
I say, okay, let's. Um, my first one was actually this one. So I have a first from, a projection. Here I take the yards, and then here I have client name and yard name.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is the client is then filtered by yards. So if we run that one, then what do we see? We have client A, A1.
Mm-hmm.
We have client B, B1. Client B, B2. Client B, B3C1.
So far, so good.
But yeah, but all these are still, so we have 4 levels and then sub-levels.
Mm-hmm.
And the
And
problem
there,
is that
yeah, you don't get,
client D is not here,
yeah.
probably because this one is inside
Mm-hmm.
this from.
Right. And so that from is going to give you an empty
Yeah,
collection, and you never get to
yeah.
project the client name.
So
Yeah.
then the next idea
Mm-hmm.
was, let's do it this way.
Mm-hmm. And now you get client D, but
Then I get client D,
you don't have the names at the
but they
same
are
level.
again not at the same level. So now we have 3 levels. We have this first level, then we have the client names, and then we have the yard names.
Yeah.
How do you get that in the same level?
Okay. So yeah, the first question is, can you do that directly in a Jinaga specification? Answer: no, you cannot. Um, so with the Jinaga specification, it's always a tuple of facts that simultaneously satisfy all conditions. So it's an and. There's no or. There is no union. It's and. Um, that's what makes inverses work. That's what makes feeds work. So that's the way it has to be. But you can then project this and flatten it down into a a list after you've got your results. Um, so the way that you would do that is um, you would want to first make sure that the empty list produces a row. So in client D, and again, you can't do this in the Jinaga specification itself, but the first part of your in-memory projection is going to be that client D, that empty list is going to be interpreted as a list containing a null. And then once you've got that, the rest just comes naturally. So there is an extension method, I believe it's called default if empty, that does exactly that. So
Yeah, but so my Jinaga query stays the same.
oh, okay, that's right. Yeah, we haven't been messing with the Jinaga query for this. Okay, perfect. So we're in exactly the right place.
Yeah,
So
so we can adapt this.
mhm. Yes. So um,
Yeah, this was
yeah,
play, so
you
we
wanna
can.
keep that one and play with a new one. Is that what you're, or do you want
Yeah,
to just play
we're
with this?
gonna.
Yeah.
Oh, I
So
don't want to Control A. Funny. Never mind. Control V he wants to do.
Yeah. So I
So
think right after on line 9, client.yards, I think right there you can say .default if empty.
what is he doing? Ah, okay. Default if empty,
Yes.
yes, and then
So I believe what that will do. Oh, okay, good. The squiggle went away. I was getting worried. Um, I believe that what that will do is when the collection is empty, it will instead return a collection having just one element in it, and that element will be the default value, which in the case of a yard will be null, since a yard
yeah.
is an object. So so now if you just run that just as it is, we should see that. Uh, oh, we get an error. Okay. Oh yeah, object reference because you've got yard names. So put a question mark just before the dot on line
Ah,
13. Yep.
yeah.
And now it'll tolerate yard being null,
Mm,
which is exactly what we want. Uh,
mm,
oh, the expression tree. Uh, okay, yeah, we can't do that in. Uh, that is frustrating. This is all working in memory. There's no reason it shouldn't be able to do that. Um, well, let's go ahead and just to see what's happening, comment out line 13 and instead just just select yard. So yeah, just yard equals yard.
yeah.
Yeah. Now you should be able to see that you get um, all four clients. A, B, and C
Yeah.
have just their yards, but D has a collection of yards which only contains null.
Yeah, indeed.
Yep.
No. Mm-hmm.
So what we need to do is do the null coalescing so that we can get the name if it's not null, but uh, no name if it is null. Um, let's let's try since it's not happy with the null coalescing operator. Let's yeah, go ahead and uncomment line 14 again. In fact, we can get rid of 12 since we've already seen what's happening.
Uh,
Um,
12. Okay.
yeah,
This one. Get rid of it. And then 14.
yeah. So instead of that, let's do the same thing but with the ternary operator.
Okay. So here. Um, no. How was
Yeah,
it?
yeah. It'll just be
Question mark
it'll be yard
if
equals
no
null, question null colon, and then
equals
that.
no question
Yeah, with
question
two equals
no
because you want to do the comparison. Yep.
then no and
And then
otherwise
yeah.
like that.
So a colon rather than a semicolon.
Oh, wait. Here I had question mark plus
Yeah. And there we want yard dot yard names.
yard. Ah,
All right. So let's see if it's happy with
because we
ternary.
have yards. Yeah, yard. We know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we okay. It cannot be
Mm.
applied to operands of type anonymous.
Okay. Oh. Okay. So I think the whole problem is that it's interpreting this as iQueryables, and we should already have our results, right? So the type of clients, I believe, just hover over clients, and I believe it's going to be
Um,
a
here,
an immutable list. Yeah, this is an
immutable
immutable
list. Yeah.
list. So where's iQueryable coming from? Yeah, let's hover over yards. That is an iQueryable. Why is that an iQueryable? Okay, I think that's an iQueryable um, because of the type inference coming from the specification. Okay, so that's where the whole iQueryable problem is coming from. So we should be able to, right before default if empty, put a dot as enumerable. That should get us out of iQueryable land. Yeah. Nope, still not doing it. Okay. Well, let's be even more forceful. um, so rather than as enumerable, let's do a .to list. I really mean it. Huh. Okay, well this is kind of frustrating. Why is it still considering iQueryable as string yard names? Okay, that's because I'm focusing on the wrong one. It's not actually the collection of yards that's the problem. It's the collection of yard names. So let's do a dot as enumerable after yard names.
Wait, yard names. Here then.
Yeah. Yeah, I should actually read the error message.
Why does it give a problem then there?
I don't know yet, but if we find that this works, then maybe we can reason through it. Nope. Okay. Let's go all the way to list on this one.
In the end, we will get there.
Yeah. It does need the parentheses. Okay. This is saying equals equals. Okay, so following my advice, reading the error message, operator equals equals cannot be applied on operands of type queryable string yard names. Could it be parentheses? Let's see if we just put parentheses around yard equals. Oh wait, it's not 0, it's null. There's the problem. I bet you
Like
that's
this.
it. Yeah, the parentheses, yeah. Should not be necessary. So
wait, let's try this
let's
one
try
first before
okay.
that works.
Now we can go back and clean things up one step at a time. Oh my goodness.
This is still working. Then here to list. Yeah, that's another example of an error message which.
Well, in that case, the error message was being helpful. I just wasn't reading it properly. But yeah, still we had to go away from no coalescing, and maybe one of the enumerable or as enumerable things would have fixed that. But we're in a good spot. So, so now if we pop that open, we should see null as the one and only yard name in there. Yeah. And then the rest of them should all have non-null yard names.
Up here. Yep, yard name is.
Okay. So the final step is just to flatten it. So the .NET way of flattening things is select
so
many.
we put. Okay, and if we would put client name now in here.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. If we put client name in there, then we would have that. Yeah, I was thinking about flattening it and moving client name into the collection at the same time, but But yeah, this way the collection's already prepared.
Comment cancelled. Why? I push 2 times.
Hmm,
So
there you
here
go.
we have,
Yeah.
yeah, indeed, client name D, and the other one is, that's correct. And so here we have 3 elements. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
okay. And so now we have to
Yes.
get all this in the top level.
Yep. Yep. So we can do that with select many. Um,
And
so
so that one is going behind.
yeah,
Um,
I think the easiest way to get from here to there is right on line 18. It might not be the easiest way to read, but we'll do this and then we can reason through what's the better way. So at very end of line 18, where it's
yeah,
client view models, do a dot select
I,
many,
yeah. Um,
and then since this is basically client view models is a collection of collections, um, the lambda that we put inside a select many um, selects the client the child select collection. So this is really the identity property or the identity um, lambda. So it could just be I arrow I. Yep. And so that will just flatten that second level up to the first level.
okay.
Cannot infer, which is interesting. Oh wait, no, it has a name. That's right. So you are selecting. Yeah, it's called PROJ. So yeah, rather than I arrow I, it's I arrow I dot PROJ. That's right. It's not a
Ah,
collection of collections. It's on the other side. Yep.
goes to I dot
Yeah.
projection.
Yeah. Yep. It's not a
Um,
collection of collections. It's a collection of objects having one property. That is a collection. So that should do it.
okay.
And there we have it.
So now we have B1, B2, B. That's perfect. That's perfect. So yeah. And
Very
so
good.
now if you want to get all the yards with it, then
Yeah.
I have to make a second specification.
Yes. And for that one, you'll want
And
specifically the yards that do not have clients. That way you don't get anything that's
yeah,
already in this one.
so I make a second specification. I do a second query, and then between this result and the other one, I do a union.
Yep.
Is it that?
Yep. Just like that.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm gonna, I'm gonna try that. Next week you will know whether that worked or not.
Very good.
Uh,
Now, I have a
of course that
prediction.
works, but whether I managed to to get that, that's another
Yes.
question.
Yeah, well, I think there's one area that you're going to run into, and it's anonymous types. If you do a union, it's got to be between two collections having the same type, and
Mhm.
uh, C sharp is nominally typed, nominal as in based on the name, and so if you create two different specifications, they're going to generate two different anonymous types, um,
Yeah.
and so they won't have the same name, even if they have exactly the same shape. So you will have to give these types names in order to do that union.
Okay. Because otherwise they cannot make the union.
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
TypeScript all day long. Because TypeScript is structurally typed.
Mm-hmm. All right. But I want to see the pattern for the change.
Yes.
This one This one I will try myself. I stop sharing this.
Okay.
Yeah, it was still not easy.
No, no, it never is. Okay.
Well, by the time DWS works, I will probably understand the whole thing.
Yeah.
I will dream in specifications.
That is, yeah, I want everybody to experience that. It's actually kind of nice. Um, yeah, and hopefully, hopefully, uh, Factual Studio will help people to experience that. So, um, yeah, I'll have to share. Yeah, that's probably for next week. I started an experiment down the Factual Studio line that, um, yeah, basically, I've uh, uh, I've created a specification language not for facts but for entities in a database because I needed this to do some analysis for work. Um, and um, so uh, I created this tool that you can write your specifications for database tables in a really simple language and then generate marked or mermaid, because it turns out mermaid is not as easy to flow off the fingers and to really think through as something simpler. So, but it's like, oh, that looks kind of like the shape of what I want Factual Studio to start off as. So, yeah, I will get that to a point where I can share. Okay, so change management. So I started this notebook here. It's really just the the very first level, but what we want to do is kind of model the idea of requesting and approving changes. So I'm going to use a little bit of help here. Um, so uh, so let's come up with some domains where we can practice this. Give me 5 domains that demonstrate requesting and approving changes to a set of documents. So let's see what ideas we've got. So legal contracts, that's a good one. Software development, too close to home. Um, construction projects, yeah. What do you think? Academic publishing, yeah. Oh yeah, that's close to my heart there. Um,
Well, why not then?
yeah, let's do that. Okay. Let's explore academic publishing. Give me a specification for a system that allows users to request changes to articles in an academic journal. Okay. So we've got an author, reviewer, editor. Hey, this is good. It's already broken it down into entities and workflows. Okay. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to rely a bit more heavily on AI to generate my requirements and not just my code. This is good stuff. Okay. So let's give it the scenario. Boom, all that. So now we've got all that in the notebook, which means now VS Code should be able to see all of that. And let's start to set up a model. So we will want a fact that's an article. So let's start there. So I'm going to say a fact type. We'll just use simple names for this. Now, of course, right now it's going to start off with just classes, but instead we want a record article. Okay, that's That's not quite right. We don't want the string and the title and the content because those are mutable. So let's just go with a good identifier, just to kick things off. So then the author will be an author of an article who is a user. Well, actually, I like this pattern here, article.author. So I'll call this article author, and then this user is going to be called author. And then this is a mutable property. We want to be able to change authors. So we will have author article, article author prior, and that's a collection. Oops. I forgot my C# for a second there. I was thinking in C. It's been a long time. Okay. So, so far, nice little model. Let's do a renderer, render types. We'll do type of article author, and it looks like Copilot's forgetting its C# too. Okay, so we should have, come on, there we go. Nice little thing. So mutable property pattern. Now let's suppose that somebody requests a change just to add an author. Okay. Well, one problem is this is being a mutable property pattern. This implies, even though it doesn't enforce, it implies that there's only one author. But that's not true. So created at. We'll change the pattern like that so that we can then remove an author. So author removed. Let's see. Yeah, you can do better than that. Article author removed. That's better. Okay, but nope, still doesn't know the context of what we're doing. Okay, no semicolon. Okay, so now we've got this this model that lets you add an author to an article, remove an author from an article, and an author is just a user. Now, that's assuming that authors actually are users of the system and not just objects in the domain. So if this is an academic journal, it doesn't really make sense that the author is somebody who's logging into the system. But
why were we not using the mutable property pattern to change authors?
Yeah, because you could have more than one article for an author, and the mutable property pattern is intended for you to interpret all of the leaves of the tree as conflicts. So if you instead use that as all the leaves are separate authors, then you can't really tell the difference between a conflict and a set. So yeah, mixing those two ideas really doesn't work out too well. So you know what, I want to change my mind here a little bit. So let's actually go with a fact type author. There we go. It's got an identifier, but the name is not a part of the identity. In fact, we want to have author name. Can you figure that out? You're getting closer. All right, so now this is where we bring in the mutable property pattern. So that's our prior. Okay. So let's stick author name on there. No semicolon. It really wants to add that semicolon. Okay. So now with this, we can add authors to an article, we can remove them from an article, and we can change their names. And now authors are not users of the system. This is a system about authors and not not that authors log into. Which kind of makes sense. An author is just going to submit their work. The journal is going to review their work, so it's going to open up their record and it's going to say, oh, they're an author of this one. And then another author comes by and says, hey, wait a minute, I worked on that paper too. So they want to submit some kind of request to say that they should be added to this article as well. So so we talked about different different ways that we could represent this. One of the ways is, what if the author that wanted to request to be added to an article actually created an article author fact. So they say they set up their own author record, they set their own name, and then they actually create this article author fact. And then if we went down that route, we would have to have approval on this article author. So it turns out we rejected this as being too difficult to write the rules for, but I still want to demonstrate it and kind of walk through it. So article author, we would have the approval So there we go. And let's do approved at. That way we can see what's going on. So now we've got this approval here, and we'll all want to do the same thing for rejection. And now there's enough context that my little typing assistant can get it all right. Okay. So now with this domain, we can kind of take a step back. What do we want to, when we bring up an article, and we actually want to see the list of authors in that article, what do we want to see? We'll want to see all of the authors for which there is an approval. And the author rejected is really just a workflow, kind of a bookkeeping thing that takes it off of our list of things to review. Yeah, we're not explicitly looking for rejected in order to take authors out of the article. When we're looking at who are the approved articles, we're looking positively for the approved fact. So that is idea number one, and that led to a problem, which is actually, I think actually we already reasoned through this problem with respect to tools.
Problem was it approved arrived too late.
The the problem that I'm thinking of is that the if it's one of these reviewers, so kind of go back to what we created here. So we've got a reviewer or it would really be the editor, yeah. So if the editor creates the article author, then they have to approve every single one. So it's like I'm making a change and I'm approving it. I'm making a change and I'm approving it. So you get a lot of these facts. So most of the time, it's the editor that's putting all this information in.
Yeah.
So so an alternative is okay, and then yeah, here's the second problem that we ran into, which I know that we haven't talked about yet, and that is authorization. So who is authorized to create the approved fact? Well, that would simply be any of the reviewers or editors, since we want the editors to be able to review or to approve their own facts. But who is allowed to create this article author fact? Well, that's going to be pretty much anybody. So, we might restrict it a bit and say that, a reviewer or an editor can create article author, plus if this author here is actually related to a user, then that user can create this article author. They can say that they themselves are an author. Actually, that constraint doesn't really make a lot of sense. Think about Wikipedia. I mean, you're just driving by and it's like, oh wait, that's wrong. Let me change that. It could not even be about you. It could be about somebody else. So yeah, you pretty much open this up to anybody. Anybody can create these facts, and that's always a red flag to me. Now, your specification is always going to be looking for the article author approved. So yeah, at least that specification isn't going to get a bunch of noise in it. But there is one specification that is going to get a bunch of noise, and that is the one that's looking for the author changes that need to be approved. And so if that one is wide open, then you're going to get some graffiti in there. So people are just going to be popping these facts in there, and you're just going to have to go through and reject a whole bunch of them. And that's not a very pleasant workflow. So yeah, I'm always on the lookout for when I write an authorization rule, when the authorization rule is too broad, especially if it's just any. So those are the big problems I see with this one. So instead, this is the option that I think we're settling on. So let's go with an author change request. So that is related to the article and to the author. So this is going to be, let's call it an article author request. Yeah, don't yet have a good naming convention for it, but yeah, that looks to be about right. And then it's really this request that is approved or rejected. So those should slot right in and show up here. Yes, okay. So down this path, we've got the actual authors that have been added to the article. And those can be removed. So here now the authorization is only those editors and approvers can create article.author. Now article author requests, that one, that one, I think we still haven't quite truly resolved the authorization, but at the very least we've moved authorization off of something that's so central. But now anybody can submit an article author request, and then that request is approved or rejected. Now, if that request is approved, it is helpful to then say what was the outcome. I'll actually just call that outcome. Yeah, so now when it's approved and that is the brand new article author fact that was created because of that request. So, so now somebody submits a request, you reject it, nothing happens. There's no new article author. You approve it. You first create this article author, which immediately goes live. But then you also have this this approval that's indicating that's the reason that that article author is out there. So I feel a lot better about this one, even though we really haven't solved the graffiti problem. But at the very least, the authorization is that wide open authorization is limited to a part that's specifically for that. So, what are your thoughts here?
But in this case, it's actually the assignment that you're gonna request. Yeah, it's not, for example, a change like the name of the author.
Yeah, that's a good point. So how would we have this name change request? So you notice that your name is spelled wrong, or you notice somebody else's name is spelled wrong. Then, following this same pattern, we will have an author name change request. So this author, and then we are going to provide a new value, a new name, like so. And then that is going to be approved
Or rejected.
Or rejected. So let's let it generate these things and then see if they got those right. So we've got our request was approved. This author name was the outcome, or the request was rejected, and that's the time. Yeah, looks like it got that right. Yeah, and this is getting too long. There we go. Okay. So, yeah, starting to get a little bit wide, but each one of these facts has its own reason for being. So with author, we've got our actual author names with the mutable property pattern. Then we've got our requests that is approved, and that is the time for us to create a brand new author name, or it's rejected. So now what would also be interesting is to know the state at the time that the request was made.
Michael, but imagine somebody files a request to change the author's name, but the author name request fact does not point to the name fact.
Yes.
So how do you know which version we have to change?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so as it is right now, it would just be, hey, let's take a look at the name of this author by running the specification and getting the current author names. If there's only
Mm.
one and it is already this value, then it's like, hey, we're all good. Somebody already changed it, but yeah, you're right. It would be even better to know what those what the author name. Uh, oops, I thought that would actually collapse it. Okay, uh, it would be good to know what that prior version was. So by doing that, oh, and now it flipped it over to the other side. So here's our requests. So for this author, this version, this collection of author names, it's like that's the consistent set that I see right now, which most of the time would just be one, the current version. But if there's a conflict, it's like I'm coming through and I see, oh, there's a conflict. Yeah, I need to resolve that conflict, but I'm not an approver or an editor, so I'm just going to submit a request. Here's the conflicting versions. Here's the name that I want it to be, which is just a property in here, and then somebody can approve that request. And so while they're approving the request, they're creating a new author name with those versions as prior, and that name value as the name value in here.
Yeah.
So if you just look at this part, it looks like mutable property. But then you come down here and you're seeing this whole workflow around change requests.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the pattern that that I like for for relationships, for mutable properties. This same pattern over here would be for entities themselves. So if somebody wants to submit a new article, then they would actually submit a request with enough information to fill out that article. Which actually, yeah, that actually brings up a different set of challenges. Is that so far these requests are very simple and directed. I want to change the name to this value. If I'm submitting an article, then I'm also going to be submitting the title and the content and the authors, and so
there's a lot more information that
yeah,
you have to provide.
yeah, yeah. So we either mirror that entire structure in change requests, which doesn't seem all that nice, or we we accept or reject articles. So now we are back to kind of a very really version one of where kind of where we started. So we're going to have article accepted, yeah, and article rejected. So let's put those in there. Yeah, I'm not sure why it wanted to list that a second time, but So now we have this model where I can submit an entire article with the authors listed, and we'll have other facts here for the titles and the content, and then that entire article can be accepted, which then puts authorization of article.author, it opens that up again. So I don't know. Maybe it does make sense to mirror the structure. This is an article submission, and there's an entire workflow around. You can just go to this website. You can create these article submissions. You can start to fill them out. Work on them for a long time before they even become articles, and then you actually submit that draft article, and then the
like a pull request.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So yeah, it might still make sense to do that. So let's undo this. I'm not sure why article author requested. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'd left it out because it was a predecessor, but this thing doesn't know that you can leave out predecessors. Yeah, so what I really want is, well, let's see if it can come up with something. So here are the article related facts. As draft article. Let's see what it can come up with. Okay. Let's go ahead and accept that. Evaluate it. It's not running it for some reason. Don't know why it's not running that one.
No errors and not running.
Yeah. Restart. Run all. Okay. Let's just try it again. Yeah, there was just something about the way that it created it. But, okay. So, this is what it came up with. So, we've got our draft article. Okay, so, yeah, it copied everything dutifully, just like I asked it to. We don't actually want the author request for drafts. Just have the draft article author. But here we do have the submit with the reject and accept, or reject and approve. And when it's approved, the outcome is the creation of an article. Yeah. Okay. So really the only thing that I want to get rid of is the draft article author requests. So this and these. So now we can get rid of those. Hopefully put them all on the same line for me. There we go. Now we've got a completely separate set of facts because they're used by completely different people with a completely different user interface. This would be a user interface intended for writing, and the other one would be a user interface intended for revising. So you'd want to do different things. So yeah, make them different facts. I like the way that turned out. Yeah, and here you're still pulling from the same pool of authors. So you're not creating a whole new draft author thing over here.
Yeah, but now the link between the article and the author is over draft article.
Yes. Yes, and that I think that's the way that it has to be for this workflow because as excuse me, as the author that wants to get their article into the journal, you're authorized to create a draft article, and now you're setting it up. You're listing all of your peer authors. But yeah, this actually kind of gets back to the whole tool approved tool problem. Is that some of your co-authors might be students that haven't published before. In fact, that's quite likely. So so yeah, you do need a way to record authors that aren't in the system yet. But I think that is getting there. I think that is getting closer. So yeah, that is what we are talking about for change management. And actually, I think that went a bit further than our discussion. So I am going to take this and put it in a nice public place, and then we can have change requests on the document, aka pull request. Yeah.
On the documentation in Jinaga, was there already a content of patterns, or was it only in the book?
Just in the book. No, I think I did. I did mention things like mutable property on the website. It's I think it's in the area that's about building applications. I probably put it in the scope of
Jinaga. I honestly don't remember. Looking into the .NET version here. And it is mutable properties, yeah. There is nothing like patterns here.
Yeah, delete, restore mutable properties. Yeah.
In the COM version, the Java script version.
That's right. Yeah, I remember doing this now. I did this inside of a notebook, and then I just transformed it into Markdown.
No, I don't see directly some patterns on the other side either.
Yeah.
Never mind. This will be a beginning.
Yep. Yeah, on the JavaScript side, yeah, I did a kind of a tutorial style of creating an app. It still uses Create React App. I need to change that to Vite. Create React App is deprecated. So, but yeah, on this side I did tutorial style, which honestly I'm not a fan of tutorial style. Um, but I know some people are, um, and it's certainly easier to write a tutorial because you just do it and then you just record everything that you're doing. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, tutorials, maybe tutorial for video. Well, video could still go through patterns as well. That'd be, well, if you're applying patterns, you want to read it and do it. So yeah, I think that's what I'll do is I'll focus um, on patterns in text, and then um, take this tutorial stuff and do video instead for that.
Mm.
But yeah, at least on the .NET side, there's a good start to patterns. Yeah, there's even a few workflow patterns. Okay, it's more than a good start. This is really the set of patterns that you would want for
Measures.
almost any application.
Mm.
So yeah, if I add change management to this, then this goes, yeah, this goes into some really deep application. Not too many applications need uh, this kind of workflow, but if you do, you do. Um, so yeah, maybe I'll add those patterns. What I'd really like to do is so here I've got the patterns um, in this one's .NET. Do the same patterns, translate them to JavaScript, to TypeScript. um, but then also the old historicalmodeling.com. Historicalmodeling.com. That is that is a site in serious need of update. Yeah.
Yeah, some interesting things there.
Yep. But this was a really fun model to put together, and you can see I've got it documented in Factual, in the old Factual,
Mm.
before
Yes.
I wrote the book. I was like, oh, okay, it should be. Yeah, this one still has um, the
Oh, yes.
specifications in the facts, um, and it still has uh, pattern keywords. So unique is a pattern keyword. Um, but then there's also a mutable. I guess I didn't show. Oh yeah, property. Property is a pattern keyword that says do the mutable property pattern right here.
Mm.
And yeah, I've since said no, that was a bad idea. Take those out. Those are not part of Factual. You have to express them yourself.
There's the time that you wrote historical modeling applications where the object model contained all the historical modeling logic.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, because this version of Factual was what correspondence used in order to
Mm.
generate your C# classes. Um, so yeah, that's going back a long time. Yeah, obviously you're 2009. um, yeah, um, the idea now is it's an internal DSL. You should be able to, of course, now it's records, so it's even easier to write them. But yeah, then if you want to put these navigation property type things into your model, rather than embed your specifications in the model like this, you would uh, use the relation helper type, and then you can use that relation as a specification. But the idea is that each consumer needs to be able to define its own specifications, not the model.
Mhm.
But yeah, yeah. So
Should erase that. It's nice to look at
yeah,
the beginning.
yeah. So yeah, maybe maybe document the patterns in a um, language agnostic way on historicalmodeling.com. Make it look very similar to the book, and then use the language specific versions for Jinaga.com and Jinaga.net.
Hmm. That means 3 different versions.
Yeah, yeah. Which hopefully some automation or some AI can help me to do that quickly.
Convert them.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah,
All
that's
right.
that's where we are.
Hmm.
Yep. Didn't get a chance to show off code launch, but uh, that can be next
And
week. I think this was a really good discussion.
oh, that was a nice pattern. And you helped me further with my with my specification. So let's see where I get from there.
Excellent.
All right,
Sounds good.
Michael, we will be
Next
there
week.
next week.
Indeed.
Okay, then see you next week.
All right. See you then.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.